Good morning. This is the JP Dinnell podcast, episode 90. I am JP Dinnell, and as always, I have Lucas with me. Lucas, what's up, dog?
It's a dog-eat-dog world, and I'm wearing milk-bone underpants, Jeremiah.
Okay. Well,
That's a line from Cheers.
I know.
Yeah, from Norm, who passed away recently.
Did he?
Yeah, just did. Sad story. That was like one of my favorite shows growing up.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, that was the show I got to watch whenever I stayed up late with Dad when I was the oldest kid.
Mm-hmm.
So, yep, Cheers has a very special place in my heart. And it was on Netflix, and I watched all, I think there's 19 seasons of it.
Wow.
Yeah, I rolled through all of them.
We should roll back through those with Amanda. That'd be fun.
They're phenomenal.
You know what show my parents watched that I did not like as a kid? MASH.
Really?
I don't know why. It just...
The theme song for MASH is pretty depressing. It is. The name of the theme song for MASH is called Suicide is Painless.
Good
yeah.
Lord.
Yeah, it's pretty terrible. But their portrayal of the Korean War was much more upbeat than I think it actually was. But yeah, that was a weird show for us as kids too.
Yeah.
Because it dealt with so many dark themes. Cheers, not so much.
Cheers is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I was watching something, and then it compared Cheers, like the age of all the people in Cheers,
Oh yeah.
to like current. I'm like, man, we're doing a lot better.
Yeah, I feel like we're doing pretty
We're
good.
doing a lot better than those guys and gals. All right, so
that little cattle coat tallow that we're using,
yeah,
really keeping our skin taut.
and not hanging out in a bar.
That probably has something to do with it.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
probably helps. All right, last week we hit on some questions that I gotten, and I know you've gotten some questions as well.
Yeah.
So we'll jump back into the rest of these. So what do you got, bud?
So the first one, how do I improve the safety culture in my company? When people have a very dangerous job, they're in construction and have been doing this job for a long time. They know how dangerous it can be, but have a hard time getting them to wear their PPE and getting them to slow down. Now, PPE here does not apply to what most of us believe or what most of us think of as PPE. This is not the COVID mask. This this is like actual protective gear for the jobs that they're doing and whatever that may be.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. A few things in there. How to improve the safety culture in my company. This is something I talk about often when I'm working with companies and I'm giving the Echelon Front Leadership Workshop that we give, or even just a keynote. We created a culture of ownership in tasking a bruiser, and which allowed us to achieve excellence and perform at a very high level. But we're also very safe. In the SEAL teams, the training that we do is very dangerous, very dynamic. People get injured. People, unfortunately, have gotten killed in training. And our task unit, we had far less injuries than the other task units. And it's 100% because we had a culture of ownership. Because when you have a culture of ownership, you're teaching people how to think, not what to think. And people aren't just doing what they're told. And that's a big reason why people get injured or hurt, is because they're just doing their job. They're not thinking. They don't have ownership. They don't have buy-in. They didn't help create the plan. They weren't thinking through the risks when putting together the plan, because they're just going out there and executing what they've been told to do. And that's a dangerous thing to have in any organization when you don't have people that are thinking on their own. So the first thing is, like, you have to assess your culture and ask yourself, okay, how can I give my people more ownership? How can I drive ownership into the culture? And that's going to help create a safer organization for sure. And I have a lot of construction companies and gas and electric companies that I've worked with that once they started investing into the Echelon Front training and they were investing into making extreme ownership a part of their culture, their safety scores have improved every time. Now, in regards to people have been doing this job for a long time, they know how dangerous it is, but I have a hard time getting them to wear their PPE and getting them to slow down. Yeah, that's complacency. People have been doing their job for a very long time. They're good at their job. They're proficient at their job. And unfortunately, all of us as humans, we get complacent and we start cutting corners. And so that's why you have to have, obviously your safety training. You have to reiterate the purpose of the training, the purpose of the gear. And you also have to have continuational training in regards to what we do, why we do things, why we don't do things a certain way, sharing stories and lessons of injuries, accidents, deaths from your company, from the industry, so that people can relate to that. People connect with stories. And, there's not a lot of people that are out there when you're just telling, hey, this is what you need to do. And they're just going to do it. And there's not very many people that are ever going to like research on their own. Like, oh, cool. My boss, Lucas, is telling me that I have to wear this safety equipment. Let me do a little research in regards to this safety equipment as to why I need to be wearing this safety equipment and how it's going to make me safer, how it's going to, make sure I go home to my loved ones. Nobody's going to do that on their own.
Yeah.
I should say almost nobody. I'm sure there's like 1 out of 100,000 people that would do that, but the majority of the population, they're not going to do it. That's why taking the time to explain and reiterate the why is very important.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. We talk about compliant personality sometimes, that as soon as that compliant personality is like, here are the rules, they're going to follow the rules. That's not most people. And when you're looking at something where you've bid a job and you've got a deadline and you get bonuses for getting it done early, right? Like cutting corners easily becomes part of the culture. Maybe it's not part of the overall culture, but it's the culture in the work groups, because like, hey, we're a team that's known for like getting the job done. That's why this particular contractor uses us all the time, and that sort of thing. So how do you combat that part of it, where you have to balance the dichotomy, if you will, of being a team that gets it done and gets their bonuses and gets everything done early, and taking the time to do this stuff? I know there's a new or a revamped version at the EO Academy on creating a culture of ownership, right? How do you create the culture of ownership? Because that seems like, you read the book, you go to a muster, like it's great, you're all fired up about it, but now you got 15 guys or maybe 6 guys that you got to get on board. How do you do that part?
Well, the first step is you actually have to give your people ownership. You can't talk about, hey, I want you to take ownership, but then not give them the opportunities to take ownership.
Yeah.
And if we're trying to improve the safety culture, one of the things that comes to mind is, okay, give your people ownership over safety training and creating safety training, and running the safety briefs and the start of the day brief, and having your people be bought in and also a part of everything that you're doing is actually how you have a culture of ownership. Nobody wakes up saying, man, I really want to go to work today and screw up and get hurt. People don't wake up. Every time I ask that question, I'm like, hey, how many of you guys have ever woken up and said, man, today is the day I screw it up. I piss off my boss. I piss off my peers. I upset my team. I make a bunch of mistakes. I get people hurt. And not one person has ever raised their hand. And everyone is kind of laughing. I said, well, okay, what's the likelihood of any of your people doing the same? And I always joke because I'm like, I know one of you guys is thinking like, oh, you don't know, I got this one guy or gal. Okay, maybe, but the majority, most humans are not waking up wanting to get hurt, wanting to make mistakes. What happens when we do that? Well, it's called a mistake for a reason. Like, it's a genuine mistake. People make mistakes when they're not thinking, when they're not dialed in, when they're complacent, when they've gotten lazy or they're tired. Fatigue makes cowards of us all, meaning we make bad decisions when we're tired and exhausted. I was talking to you about this earlier, and I was doing a training a few weeks ago with Cody, and he was talking about complacency. Nobody just goes into complacency right away.
Yeah.
There's a path to it. And he's walking it out. It's like, all right, so you start doing something and you become competent in that. So you're competent in it, and that competent breeds confidence. So now you're confident in what you're doing. And then when we're confident, what happens? We get comfortable. And that comfortable feeling can breed cockiness. We get cocky. And that's when complacency creeps in.
100%.
It's the comfortable to cocky is what opens the door to complacency.
Yeah.
And complacency kills. And it gets people injured. It gets people killed, and then, also, okay, maybe you're listening to this and you don't have a dangerous job. You work in an office or something. It's the same thing for you. That complacency allows you to make mistakes. You make mistakes because you got cocky and comfortable and you stopped doing the things that you were doing. And so when we're thinking about extreme ownership and creating a culture of safety, we really have to be intentional with making sure our people are bought in and a part of the plan, the brief, they're thinking, you're asking questions. And here's another thing. If your bonuses are driving people to be unsafe, then you should reevaluate your bonus structure. Now, speed is a great thing. You want your people to work fast and work hard and be efficient and effective. But if your timelines are not realistic because you as a leader aren't thinking about the safety of your people, I talk about this often. Desire and capabilities are two different things. I have the desire for my team to finish this job in a month. If they're not capable of getting it done within a month without cutting corners, then maybe it needs to be 6 weeks.
Yeah. And I think you can add to that, like, people actually work better and faster whenever they're safe.
Yep. Oh yeah, for sure. 100%. And then also
we think that we don't. We think that, like, hey, if I don't put this harness on or if I don't do this thing, then I'm actually going to have the freedom to work better and faster. But the truth is that taking that extra 15 seconds or, maybe it's 120 seconds to put everything on, you actually work better and faster whenever you feel secure.
It's the same concept as doing a readback. You should do a readback after every brief, every meeting, and people get rushed and they don't want to do the readback, and then they're having to do rework on the back end. It's like, well, you could have taken 5 minutes to go back through the plan of the day and have a few of your people brief back to you what they heard you say, what they're doing, how they're doing it. You clear up any confusion on the front end versus going out to a job site and you're like, what have you guys been doing? They're like, oh, we're doing what you told us to do. Here's the plan. And you're like, no, that's actually not what you're supposed to be doing. And now that half day of work in the wrong direction could actually turn into 2 days of rework. So now you're behind schedule. So another thing to help improve a culture of safety is doing the readback. The readback is going to ensure that you have alignment, and the readback is going to keep your people safer, more efficient, and more effective.
100%.
And, kind of piggybacking, but going back to what we said before we put a bow on this one, if you're in a leadership position and you're looking at the big picture and you're like, I need my guys to get this job done in 60 days. Like, it has to be done in 60 days. You put the bonus out there, or they just know that's part of it. Like, hey, you need it done in 60 days, and you're rushing them and pushing them. And you're like, all right, cool. Hey, we got it done in 60 days, or hey, we're close to it. Tactical win, strategic loss. Because if somebody gets hurt trying to get the work done faster than they're capable of, okay, you were trying to do it so that you could, get another bid from this client or win another contract from the client, but you get somebody hurt. You think you're going to continue getting contracts? No, because if somebody's looking at crews and you have injuries on job sites and or deaths on job site, one, that's a huge negative impact to your company's insurance, which affects your costs and your bottom line. And then also, like, I had a client that I did a full day workshop with, and 2 months later they called me and he said, hey, I'm connecting you with one of my subcontractors. They rush all of our jobs. They have people getting hurt all the time. And I told them that they have to do a full day workshop with you if they want to continue working with us.
Wow.
And so I did a full day workshop with them, and the emphasis was on safety. Like, the whole thing was safety through ownership and working through all the laws of combat, the mindsets of victory, tying everything back into safety and efficiency. And they were able to do a hard reset as a group. It was cool. They literally stopped everything they were doing as a company, had all hands there. They were very engaged because the owners of the company put out their team this, and they took ownership. They said, hey guys, we've been pushing you guys too hard. It's been unrealistic. We've had some injuries. We've gotten very lucky that we haven't had any deaths. We're going to be present during this day of training.
Yeah.
And this is what we are going to be doing as an organization moving forward so that we can be safer, more efficient, more effective, and maintain the contracts that we have in place.
That's pretty rad.
Yeah, it was awesome.
All right, next question. My marriage is starting to suffer. I've got a job that requires me to travel a lot, and I'm gone all the time. Love my job, but because of the travel, I feel like my wife is starting to resent me since I am gone a lot of the time. What should I do?
Well, one, I think is an opportunity for you to sit down with your wife and apologize. Take ownership over, not having alignment and not maintaining alignment. I'm very fortunate. What I've been doing with Echelon Front, October will be 9 years. So 8.5 years. It's crazy. And I'm gone a lot. There's a few years where I was gone 2 weeks at a time because of the FTXs that were running up in Michigan. And then, just boom, 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 just gone all the time. And, man, it's crazy. Like, not once has Amanda ever complained about me leaving on a work trip. Not once has she ever tried to make me feel bad or, guilty for leaving. And I feel like, one, the biggest reason behind that, outside of her just being an incredible woman, is we have had alignment since day one.
Yeah.
Of, hey, this is what we're doing. This is what we're trying to build. This is the opportunity that we have. This is what it's going to take. And I remember we were sitting at a red light in South Haven, Mississippi, and I was talking with Jocko, and it was right at the very beginning, and we were just talking through some gigs and some stuff that was coming up, some events that I had, and I was gonna miss the kids' like graduation from kindergarten or something like that, and some other stuff. And he was just in a conversation. I wasn't complaining about it, and I remember him saying, hey, you're going to miss a lot of these things if you want to be a part of building this. So if you don't, that's fine. Like you can do gigs whenever you want, as little or as much as you want. Jocko and Leif have always told me that you can do as little or as many gigs as you want. But at the beginning stage, I had an opportunity to help them build the company and be a part of the executive leadership team, which meant I was going to miss a lot of things. And I've missed anniversaries. I've missed birthdays. I've missed surgeries that Amanda's had. I've missed a lot of things. But we've had alignment. And, as I reflect now, there's always going to be was it worth it? Mm-hmm. I mean, 8.5 years ago, I was delivering pizzas to make ends meet and doing all these odd-end jobs. And now it's a completely different situation for my family. So was it worth it? Yeah. Was it worth missing all those things? Well, no. But that's part of hindsight when you sit back and you reflect. At the moment, it's like, no, I need to be doing these things. I need to be doing these things. And, even more so now with Aiden going in the military, he's wanting to stay until Christmas and then leave sometime after Christmas. And I'm like, okay, I've got like 6 months before he's gone, like gone. And, it really makes me think and like reflect upon things of, and I get emotional thinking about like the wasted time and just how I, should have been so much more intentional with him. But it changes like now, like all the moments that I have with him and doing things with him and Amanda and I with him and the kids. But to answer this question, I mean, I'll go back to what I said, like, hey, say you're sorry, apologize, and then get realigned with that individual and say, hey, for the lifestyle that we have, this is what it requires of me. If you don't want me to be gone this much, then I can find another job or throttle back on travel. Like, I don't know, maybe that company has different positions where you don't have to travel and you could just be home every day and have the normal Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I have friends that have that and I'm envious of that at times.
Yeah. Some days it's really nice.
Yeah. 'Cause I'm like, wow, you're home every day and you have a schedule and you train jiu-jitsu 3 to 4 days a week and you go to all your kids' things and you're able to meal prep and you're at the gym at the same time every day. I'm like, what would that be like? But that's not the life God has intended for me at this moment.
Yeah. And it's important to realize like that in particular is, figuring out what that plan is, because even with Echelon Front, you guys have always had this, sort of plan in place that like, hey, it's going to be this crazy for this period of time. And then after that, we'll be able to, if the company's grown, if we've hit our metrics and all those things, now we'll have the opportunity to scale back and to figure those things out. And that's a really important thing whenever you're bringing into alignment. There's a lot of my buddies who grew up in ministry with their wives. They got married in their early 20s and, they did their internships and their wives, were there when they were doing their internships. And then they did their, their stints as, maybe associate pastors and things like that. Well, Kirsten got thrown into lead pastor role. Yeah. Like immediately. And at she's 13 years younger than me. So like at 22, right now she's in a spot
Wow,
where,
that's crazy.
yeah, right. So now she's in a spot where her husband is 35, but also, people are like, oh, well, if you had enough spiritual wisdom that our pastor sees you as a good helpmate for him, like, all right, so now, we've got these ladies who are 55, 60, 70 years old who are coming to Kirsten for spiritual advice. And she's like, oh my gosh. But like, those were things that we had to have conversations about in the beginning of like, hey, you are getting thrown into the deep end. And I'll tell you, there was some guilt from me when we entered into that part of the relationship. Like, as we were talking more serious about marriage, because I'm like, you don't get the ramp up to this. You don't get any preparation, all safety devices, all PPE as a throwback to stuff like it's off. You're just in the midst of it, and you got to figure it out. And if this is one of those situations where like, hey, you had this job before you got married, then there might be some things where you kind of knew what was going on, but that consistent alignment, we talked about on a Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu episode recently about having, those weekly meetings with your spouse to make sure that you've got some alignment. And this is a great opportunity to do that, whether it's an in-person thing or whether it's a call or whatever. And then I would also, on the other side, is like, if you're feeling that there's some resentment coming from your wife, the resentment may not actually be about this. This may just be the thing that she's fixating on right now. And so, having that conversation and apologizing, and then asking some questions, asking those earnest questions and figure out like, hey, is this it? Like, is this what you're really upset about? Or is there something else that I didn't do?
Yeah.
Right. Because the blow up argument over, not putting the dishes in the sink is not actually about whether or not the dishes are in the proper part of the sink. It's about everything else that's happened over the past 3 weeks or 6 months that you guys haven't talked about. And now this has become the thing that's the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah.
So
now I want to make sure that what I'm about to say is received the right way. I'm not trying to deflect it off of this person. It's still on you. Like, you have to take ownership over this.
100%.
There might be resentment because of something she's working through personally.
This is also true.
I had a lot of resentment towards Amanda when I got out because I felt guilty for being out of the SEAL teams.
Yeah.
So it was something I needed to work with. And instead of me taking ownership over the decisions I made to get out and transition, I just had that resentment towards her.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it was my choice to get out. I made the choice. And because I wasn't happy with that choice, I had a lot of resentment towards her, which caused a lot of problems between us. So to circle back to what you were saying, if you're having regular conversations with your spouse, it eliminates a lot of these things. And if you feel that she has resentment towards you, sit down, talk with her. Say, hey, honey, I just want to say I'm sorry. There's been some tension between us. I don't really know what the root cause of it is. I feel like it's because I'm gone all the time at work and I'm traveling and I'm not able to help you here at the house or with the kids, and you have a lot on your plate. But I just wanted us to sit down and just talk and get realigned. Like, what do you feel has been causing this friction between the two of us? Because this is also an assumption. Because he says, and I feel like my wife is starting to resent me for being gone all the time. He doesn't know that. He didn't say, hey, my wife told me.
Yeah, she's said that this is it. Yeah.
So, I would take the time just to sit down with your spouse. And, like Lucas and I were just talking about, one of the things that I have those weekly calls with Pastor Chris, just talking through just different things in life. And one of the things that him and his wife do that's a non-negotiable is they have a weekly meeting. Mm-hmm. And it's their business meeting. Now, obviously, they're talking all the time throughout the week. Like, their marriage is phenomenal.
That's awesome.
Like, Amanda and I really look up to them for their marriage. And, like a lot of the other people at our church, Pastor Tyron and Betsy and, Mike and Emily. And I could list a lot of people, you and your wife are on that list as well in regards to like marriages that we looked up to and like how you guys conduct yourselves and function. But the non-negotiable weekly like business meeting, I think is really important because it's showing that other person that you are putting them above everything else. Now he told me, he's like, hey, if Pastor Jeff or Pastor JP call or need something during that time, okay, those are the only two. And he goes, for you, it should be like, okay, if Jocko or Leif, like, yeah, bump it out. He goes, but you need to start doing that. And I don't have it like hard in the schedule like he does, but I've been working at making that more intentional with Amanda and I, because my schedule is super dynamic and all over the place. But the more Amanda and I have taken the time to sit and talk and just work through things, like a lot of the frustrations go away. A lot of the arguments go away. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and so much of it is about that connection. Our next question, though, has to do with somebody with a dynamic schedule. I'm in law enforcement and want to start training jiu-jitsu, but my department will not pay for it, and I'm on a limited budget. What can I do to get my department to pay for it?
Man, there's a lot you could do. There's a lot. I know Jocko's talked about this on his podcast a lot. First thing I would say is find a gym that's good. Like, go test out a few gyms in your area. Find a gym that has a good culture, good training, safe training. Tell them, hey, I'm in law enforcement. It's really important that I don't get injured training. I want to train so that I can be more efficient at my job, so I can be a better police officer. And then, there's a lot of research out there right now about departments that have implemented jiu-jitsu into their training. I know one of the black belts that trains at our gym, he's been in, his name's Brad. I'm not going to give his full name. He's a black belt. He's been in law enforcement, and he has like case studies and data that backs up law enforcement agents that train jiu-jitsu have less use of lethal force, less injuries on the job, and less injuries that they produce on their suspects. Because now they're not pulling out their batons, their tasers, their weapons. They have the confidence and the skill set to control that situation. And so I would do the homework, instead of just saying, oh, I wish my department would pay for it, which I'm not saying that's an invalid feeling. I agree. Yeah, that would be awesome if your department could pay for it. But first, okay, let's step back and think about it. You chose to go into this profession. It is on you, 100% on you to be proficient at your job. If you're in law enforcement, you should not be out of shape. If you're in law enforcement, you should not be unhealthy. If you're in law enforcement, you should be at the shooting range using your weapon system. You should be training combatives. You should be training jiu-jitsu. Okay, your department won't pay for it. You're on a limited budget. Do some of the online things like Gracie Online, or is it Gracie University?
Gracie University. I'm looking up right now.
I know.
BJJ Fanatics.
Okay, yep, that was the next one I was going to go to. I'm friends with those guys there. They have a lot of courses that you can purchase that are cheap.
And they've got a ton of them that are free. John Danaher, who, if you don't know that, he looks like a robot, because he's bald and pale as I am, and he looks like he's probably got alopecia, and he wears the same thing every day, but he's coached some of the greatest jiu-jitsu champions in the world.
Yeah.
And he's got an entire series that's out on BJJ Fanatics for free.
That's crazy.
Of how to practice jiu-jitsu.
There you go.
On your own without a partner at home.
See. Now, having a partner is going to make it better.
Oh, yeah. But he shows you why all these things matter.
Like, literally, there's baseline. Like, actually, that's step 0.
Yeah.
That's your baseline, step 0, free on bjjfanatics.com.
And there's a ton. You can go to BJJ Fanatics. You can go to free products, and then you can look up by instructor. And a lot of their guys have free things that are on there. Gabriel Rocha.
Oh, yeah.
He's got free stuff on there. John Danaher's got free stuff on there. If you follow Chris Burns on social media, right? He's a black belt under the Gracies, and he's got a bunch of free stuff that you can do. Kirsten and I do it. We do it with the kids. There's little drills that you can do.
Yeah.
There's this timing drill where you take your belt, then you put a knot in it, and you just swing it back and forth. And then you work on, with a partner, you work on getting to them, right? Just being able to touch their chest or to give them a hug without being hit by the belt. We do it with Levi and Scotty. They're
awesome.
They're 1 and 2. They love it. Yep. Levi will ask every day, "Hey, can we play the TikTok game?" And that's it. And we just go TikTok, TikTok, and he's like trying to, figure it out. There's a ton of things that you can do. There's a bunch of free resources.
One of the things, Josh Strasburger has talked about this before. When he was first getting into jiu-jitsu, there's a group of guys at Memphis Judo and Jiu-Jitsu. Shout out to those guys where we used to train. That's actually where we met. And there's a few of those guys that worked different shift work in different warehouses and factories, and they couldn't make it to class. And so one of them would be able to make it to class. And then they also had DVDs that they bought, and they would watch the DVDs, and that's what they would train on. So they bought some cheap mats, had them in one of the guys' extra bedroom in his apartment, and that's where they would train jiu-jitsu. There's no excuses.
No.
You can go train. You're putting self-imposed limitations upon yourself.
Yeah. Also go to the Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu Instagram page. We've got some super high-level black belts that are just giving away not just their basic fundamental stuff, but some of their championship moves and drills that they do, and they're for free on the Instagram page. And do what we do. Grab a buddy or grab your wife and say, "Here, honey, I want you to put this gi top on."
Yeah.
And go for it. You will be so surprised, I think, at how willing, I don't know, kids are in bed. You're like, "Hey, I want to do this. Give me, honey, can you give me 20 minutes? I'm trying to do this thing to make sure that I'm safer whenever I'm on my job." Yeah. She may initially just be like, "All right, whatever." But do it 3 or 4 times, and you'd be surprised how quick your wife is like, "Hey, no, this is cool. How do we get the family in this?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then also create a BJJ club at your department. Ask your department to pay for some mats. Worst case, they say no, which would be crazy to me. They couldn't find the budget for that. So you raise some money, do a fundraiser at your police department, or collect money from all the officers that want to do it. Get some mats, some wrestling mats or yoga mats or jiu-jitsu mats, whatever mats that you can get at your department, and then just practice jiu-jitsu from these free courses. Also, go to some local gyms and talk to professors and tell them like, "Hey, I'm local PD. If you ever had to call 911, my department's going to be the one that's going to be responding here. Unfortunately, my department won't pay for jiu-jitsu. Unfortunately, I don't have the budget for training. Is there something we could work out to where I could come just train once a week and bring it back to my department? And what would it cost for me to bring you in once a month to my department to do like a 90-minute session with my department?"
Mm-hmm.
I would be shocked if a gym didn't work with you.
No, and so many of these gyms too, man. It's about what you're willing to put into it.
Yep.
So we got a really.
Oh, you mean show some humility and work hard?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I've got a good friend who went to a professor that we both know. I'm not going to use names because not everybody's going to get this deal. But they were like, "Hey, look, I don't have the money to do this. My husband and I, we have a career that we've got some seasons that are really great and some that are just bone dry.
Yeah.
But I will do whatever you want me to do. Like if you want me to clean, I'll come and I'll clean the mats and do a list." So this person went in, they cleaned the mats, they showed up for training 2 to 3 times a week. They were there doing everything, and finally the coach just looked at him and was like, "You're serious about it. Don't clean the mats. You're good for our community." So, we got somebody else that wants to do this and wants to clean the mats. You're graduated from mat cleaner, but
that's huge.
Just show up, do your thing, move on. There's so many gyms that do that. Yet they're giving you something the least you could do is say, hey, you know what? I'll be here for an extra half hour. I'll make sure that the mats get cleaned.
Yeah,
I'll make
take
sure
out the trash, clean the bathroom,
Yeah.
like whatever.
Yep.
There's always ways to do it. And here's the deal. If a gym in your area isn't willing to do that, that's not a gym you want to train at.
No.
There will be a gym in your area that will do that.
And maybe they've just got an open mat on Saturdays and you've got to go and like, that's it. Like, hey, you know what? The gym that's 10 minutes away from me won't do it, but the one that's 30 minutes away will. So we go to the open mat, we do it. We talk to the professor and say, hey, listen, I would really love to get instruction here, but come to the open mat. We're doing this at home. You know, you're not in our area, right? Like my precinct does not cover your area, but we really need this. Is there something we can do? The majority of the time, those guys respect hard work and dedication and discipline. Go do that stuff and see if they don't just take good care of you.
Yeah. There's also programs out there. Off the top of my head, I can't remember them. And also, like, I would need to do research before I like promote like these other programs.
Yeah.
But I do know that there are programs. I think one's called like Adopt a Cop, where where they cover your gym membership until you get your blue belt.
Oh, that's rad.
Yeah. I think it's Adopt a Cop.
That's cool.
Which is really cool. So they will pay for your training. Now, part of it is the gym is partnering with that foundation. And so your membership is at a discounted rate, but you also have to at least show up and train either once or twice a week, I think, with that.
Yep. adoptacopbjj.org. They've got a list of all their affiliate gyms and all of that stuff. The other thing is, like, who go to your Chamber of Commerce. Mm-hmm. People love when officers show up to the Chambers of Commerce, to those networking meetings, and just tell them, hey, listen, we actually need some training. This will give our officers more confidence so they're less likely to use unnecessary force. I mean, how much of our conversation with Aaron was about that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A couple of episodes ago. They'll be more confident, so they're much less likely to use unnecessary force. Mm-hmm. They're going to be safer, and they're going to keep the citizens safer because of that confidence. And also, if they end up in a confrontation, the likelihood that somebody gets killed or injured goes way down.
Yep.
Whenever they know how to do that. But here's what we need: we don't have the department funds to be able to do it. Would one of y'all be willing to donate to the Officer Foundation for the community, or to use as a write-off this to get some of these officers training, or to bring an instructor out to train our officers? And I think you'd also be surprised at the way, even if you are in one of those places where you think everybody hates law enforcement, I can almost guarantee you that there's going to be one individual or organization that comes through and they're like, hey, listen, don't tell everybody that we're doing this, whether that's because they don't want everybody to know, or they want to be able to donate in private. It says, yeah, hey, we'll help you guys cover this. We can do it for 4 weeks. We can do it for 6 weeks, whatever. Tell me what you need and we'll make sure that you guys get taken care of. The community wants to help out the civil servants that are in our communities. Mm-hmm. So
I found that email from Brad, and he sent me over this document, which is just crazy. I asked him if he'd come on the podcast. He has to get it approved. But this would be great. Let's see. Okay, I'm just going to give a high overview of this. I mean, look at this, bro. This is all.
Dude, that's crazy.
Okay, I was looking through a few things. This is the police department's UOF, so use of force data. 5 years prior of no BJJ program, yearly average from 2017 to 2021 versus 3 years of BJJ program, yearly average from 2022 to 2024. Uses of force reportable, down 30%. Officer injury, down 75%.
Oh, good grief.
Subject injury, down 15%. Force after controlled attempt, down 49%. I don't know what these abbreviations stand for, so I'm not going to put that.
Dude, the amount of, like, first off, all of those statistics are really impressive, but the other thing to remember is that all of those statistics have a a monetary value to them.
Huge.
Right?
Here's one. Strikes/impact with weapons down 73%.
Yeah. And every one of those gets litigated. Right? There's no way around litigation and those types of things. So that is a massive decrease in expenditure for those departments and for that city. And that's the thing. Doing a little bit of research like this is super important in making those presentations. Hey, you spend $1,000 a month to have our officers have a membership at this jiu-jitsu gym. The jiu-jitsu gym is going to be so stoked about that extra income, but also at the end of the year, you're going to save tens of thousands from not having to deal with litigation for all of these things.
Here's some other crazy stats. Training injuries. 95 officers attended over 2,800 civilian-operated BJJ classes with only one reported minor training injury. 2 years of data. Non-BJJ officers used their taser in 77% of use of force all incidences.
Good grief.
BJJ officers used their tasers in only 54% of use of force incidences, but 85% of which, so 85% of that 54, of which were used, they were used to stop a foot pursuit, not to end a physical altercation. 23% reduction in taser deployments. You're saving money.
That's a ton.
The perception changes drastically with the community.
Yeah. Those taser cartridges are not cheap.
Yeah.
And they are uncomfortable. You ever been hit with one of the cartridges?
Oh, yeah.
I had a buddy who was a state trooper that was showing me his taser, and he gave me a little zap, and then he put the cartridge on, and it misfired and got me in the back of the calf.
Here's some other
It's
stats.
the longest 4 seconds of my life.
Oh, yeah. Use of force injuries to officers. 18 months prior to BJJ, 29 officers were injured while carrying out arrest. 18 months after BJJ, only 15 officers were injured while carrying out arrest. 48% reduction in officers' injuries, approximately $67,000 savings in workers' comp.
That's not a bad amount of savings.
None of the injured officers were enrolled in the BJJ program. So,
yeah, so there's a little information.
Yeah.
Go to your department with that. Go to your Chamber of Commerce people with that. Go to your jiu-jitsu instructor with those things and say, hey, listen, this is what we're looking at.
This is cool
Can you help us
for
out?
the community as well. The suspect is more than twice as likely to need medical clearance hospitalization in a use of force encounter with a non-BJJ officer, 65%, than a BJJ trained officer, only 31%. 53% reduction in serious injuries to suspects. Dude, that's huge.
That's massive.
Wow. Okay. This is from one of the shifts data. Okay. 2019 late nights had one BJJ officer on the shift. The shift was responsible for 44% of the entire department's use of force. 2020 late nights had 75% of their officers in the BJJ program. That shift now was responsible for 18% of the entire department's use of force.
That's massive, man.
Increased confidence in the ability to not have to escalate force or rely on the CEW brought the entire shift's actual competence up.
No doubt.
So there you go. I mean, I really hope to have Brad on here to dive deeper into this, but I mean, just from what we shared is
Yeah, that's massive, right?
no reason not to train.
No, the benefits incredibly outweigh the potential costs massively. I got another
time for one
BJJ
quick one?
question. Yeah. So this is from Bill M. Cyrus. No relation apparently to Billy Ray, which this is good for him. This is Bill M. I'm glad you don't have an achy breaky heart. How long does it take to get past the obstacle of feeling left behind in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? I have a very limited time, and I'm trying not to be discouraged.
That is a self-imposed limitation you put on yourself.
He's feeling clueless. That's the word he used that I omitted. Clueless.
Yeah, okay. Welcome to Jiu-Jitsu. I've been doing this for a long time. Not that long, but I mean, long enough to have my purple belt. Mm-hmm. And I feel that way. And if I just reflected on how bad I suck at Jiu-Jitsu all the time, it would be pretty discouraging.
Yeah.
But I look at my progress.
Yep.
You know, and then when I go cross-train at other gyms, when I'm on the road, I'm like, oh, actually, I'm not that bad. I just compare myself to the noon class at 555.
Yeah.
Or the evening class at 555, or the morning class at 555. They're all killers.
Where all the killers are.
Yeah, they're, you know, I train at a high level gym where like a lot of the blue belts are better than me. Mm-hmm. It's just part of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And if you rely on, if you only reflect on the negative thoughts and how you wish you were better or how you're getting left behind because you have limited time to train, then you're not going to progress. You have to shift your mind.
Yep.
Every time I log in to the system at 555 and I look at how many days I've been at rank and how many classes I've had versus the time at rank, it could be discouraging if I looked at that. I think I took a picture one time and sent it to the group. I'm like, this is pathetic. But then I also realized, like, oh, actually, if I look at all the times I've gotten to train and think about, wow, look how fortunate I am to be able to train jiu-jitsu, and I do make it a priority at sometimes, I'm better off because of that. So it's a mindset shift that you have to have.
100%. And, you know, the other thing is, like when Stefan Banta was here, one of the things he talked about is go watch it, right? Like the times that are best for me to train are 5 a.m. and 10 p.m. And there is not a gym that I know of in the United States that they're like, you know what we're going to run? We're going to run a bunch of 5 a.m. and 10 p.m. classes. Now there are gyms that do the 5 a.m. class. Grapplers Institute. If I wanted to drive down to Dallas, Stefan's like, hey, you want to be here at 5 a.m., man? You know, we'll let you in. You can come in. You can watch. You can train with some of our guys. It'd be awesome. So there are gyms that make that happen. The thing is like what we've already talked about. Go watch the YouTube Craig Jones Invitational or the ADCC Championships. Go watch the free stuff that's out there on YouTube and BJJ Fanatics and all of that stuff. And you can improve your game by watching other people in the time when you can't actually be physically on the mat training.
Yeah, and so what I'm hearing you say is be intentional.
What?
Yeah. Josh and I have a buddy from Memphis Judo and Jiu-Jitsu. He, because of his schedule and because of the priority he was going to allow Jiu-Jitsu to be in his life, it was only 1 day a week. And he trained 1 day a week for 10 years. And guess what he got? His black belt.
Yeah.
He got his black belt because he made the most of that day of training. Mm-hmm. And on the off days, he was watching, he was studying, he was drilling, he was training with buddies outside of the gym.
Yep.
And he's a legitimate black belt. Like nobody could say, oh, you don't have the time. Okay, cool. Go roll with him and tell me he's not a black belt. So it's about intentionality. And I'm going to encourage you to shift your mindset. Stop like getting down on yourself and realize, okay, you're doing what you can right now. Are you getting left behind? Maybe. But are you progressing past others? Absolutely. So focus on your progression and maybe shift some priorities in your life.
Yeah. Because you know what? It really sucks to suck. So, yeah, man. Well,
we're not saying that you suck.
No, I'm not. I do. I'm speaking from my personal experience right now where I'm at in jiu-jitsu. The mat is not becoming any more tasty whenever I'm being like put into turtle position and thrown down. But you know what I am doing less of? Eating it with my face. So because you're learning those little iterative steps. So before we get to JP's final thoughts for today, we just want to thank you all for your support, for following us on YouTube, for subscribing there. Those who have checked out the videos on Spotify, you guys are awesome. I've loved the feedback from that. If you want to be part of the conversation, go check out on Instagram. I'm at Lucas Pinker. JP is at JP Dinnell, 2 N's, 2 L's. We've got the at JP Dinnell podcast as well if you just can't get enough of this stuff. Make sure that you're following Echelon Front. They're at Echelon Front. To get all of the expert leadership training. They are the premier leadership consulting company in the United States and now globally. You guys are doing a lot of stuff like worldwide, which is pretty rad.
Yeah, we've been global for a while, which is crazy.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. The EO Academy, the 1 o'clock calls on Mondays, 1 o'clock Central Time. I don't know what time zones all of y'all are in. I could look at that statistic, but Central Time's where we're at. That's what matters to me. So check those out. We do have people from all over the world that are a part of those. And a lot of the guests on the show have been there. So you might see Jonathan and Ann Montgomery. You might see good old Father Stokes and a few others that are on there. So that's pretty awesome. We talked a little bit about Jiu-Jitsu today. We're both part of a ministry called Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu. You can look at that, Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu _USA. We've got training videos and stuff that's being put out there. There are devotionals that are being put out there. You can sign up for that email list. We do regularly do, that's a better way to put it, Jiu-Jitsu seminars. We'll bring out a high-level black belt. Somebody shares a testimony. They've been awesome. The last one with the last one with Marcus Buchecha was just unreal. Yeah. Was so cool. And to see that guy when there were 400 people there, we've got almost 300 people on the mats. He was like, "Oh, there's not enough space for me to do my throws. I'm going to show him this other thing that I do that nobody else does." And as we were doing it, our purple belt buddy who we were talking about, the American Texan, came up to me and he was like, "Yeah, I don't know that I'm going to be able to do this regularly, but I'm going to try it." He's like, "I could probably do it on you." Yeah, no doubt.
Oh, Justin.
Yeah. Super good dude. Make sure that you go check out littlecattle.co.
Get that beef.
That's what I'm talking about. There is a Father's Day special that's going on around the time that this will be coming out, so you can get 30% off of some of those tomahawk steaks. Not such a bad deal. Yeah. You can get it off of the beef tallow products, or my favorite, we're giving them away. Just placed our order for the Father's Day beef stick bouquet.
Awesome.
Yeah, you want an edible bouquet? Don't get flowers and stuff. That's ridiculous. Get beef sticks. Way better for you.
Your dad doesn't want another tie. Get him beef sticks.
Yeah, no doubt. My dad, like whose dad wears ties anymore? Like very, very rarely. There's some, right? Yeah. Like if my kids got me a tie, I would wear it because I wear some sometimes on Sunday morning. But if they got me a beef stick bouquet, I'd be a happier camper.
Yes.
Yeah, much better use of their funds. Also, we've got On the Path Printing, which is a company that JP and Josh own. If you send them a message at On the Path Printing, they can meet all of your apparel needs. We got some NCC shirts coming. We've got the Never Settle brand that's being revamped. And if you want to learn how to do it like the guys from TU Bruiser, Jocko, Leif, JP, go to @BruiserArms. They've got custom gear packages that they put together. I have not got my clearance to have the prototype packages sent to me for free, but I'm working on it. I know a guy. But the custom gear packages are awesome. They do custom training as well. And, you want to learn how to really protect your family, not just from some dude online. You don't want to be the guy who's got his guns in a safe on the other side of the house saying like, no, I have these for home defense.
And you don't know how to use them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's figure it out. Get it together. And a huge thanks, as always, to the people that keep the podcast powered. That's the folks over at Origin and Jocko Fuel. Are those the GTFO shorts?
Yes.
Are they super comfy?
They're unreal.
They look like it, man.
The pants are unreal. The shorts are unreal.
I'm
well done, Pete Roberts.
I'm not typically a shorts guy, but I think I might have to pull the trigger on the GTFO shorts. Dude. Like they're so good, and everything else they do is phenomenal and comfortable. They got some ladies jeans coming out,
yes,
which my wife is super excited about because she's tired of just stealing my joggers. She's like, this is the only Origin thing that I can wear. It's the only thing that fits me like it's supposed to.
Yeah.
She saw the ladies jeans and she was like, come on, Amanda.
Yes.
Thanks for playing for the team. And then also the folks over at Jocko Fuel, the cleanest supplements in the game. We've both been struggling with some sleep, had some long days. Before you go to bed, you know what you need? A little bit of that magnesium.
Yeah, magnesium, creatine.
Take that little combo, you'll sleep like a baby.
Yeah,
and it's not going to give you crazy dreams like hot sauce and extra lattes. I'm telling you right now. So one of the ADD hacks, they're like, have a cup of coffee before you go to bed because caffeine chills people out. it does, it can work, right? It can be effective for people who have certain kinds of things. The magnesium, so much better, so much better for your body. And that creatine,
Yeah.
get a little extra nap, and you wake up and you feel so good. Even if it was only 3 hours of sleep, this is stuff your body needs to keep you well rested. Go check it out.
Awesome. Well, hey, as we're closing it out, there's a lot of different thoughts I have when we do these, when I'm preparing for them, when I'm just thinking about the podcast, reading comments. Go train. That would be my closing thoughts. Like, I know we say that on the Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu podcast, but go train. Whether it's Jiu-Jitsu or, something, you need to be training so that you can better yourself. Whether you're lifting weights, whether you're training your mind by reading, listening to podcasts, reading the Bible, studying books, studying podcasts, studying the Bible, studying jiu-jitsu, watching videos on BJJ fanatics, going to go train jiu-jitsu at a gym, training at your house, training with your buddies. It doesn't matter. Just go train to better yourself, to broaden your capabilities, and to open up your mind. So I hope this episode has been a reminder to go do the work that's needed, to put in the effort, to build your legacy, and to never settle. This has been the JP Dinnell Podcast, episode 90.